Hi guys, and welcome to my review of the PENON Volt. This has been, I took my time in doing this review because I didn't want to just speak, uh, you know, uh, in a rush, let's put it that way. Not that I consider that I do things in a rush, but anyway, I took my time because I really wanted to make sure that when I gave my opinion about the Volt, it was an opinion based on really living with the Volt for a couple of days, or in this case for a couple of weeks, and being able to then form a very definite and concrete opinion about it. Anyway, this is the box of the Volt. Very simple, very much along the lines of what PENON usually gives us. You open that up, you open it up, and inside we get this case. I'll show it to you now in a second, and we get another smaller case over there, which I never really understood for what that's for. That's a little security thing for the cable. Actually, let me leave it outside here. Those are some of the tips that it brings. This is the stock cable, which, truth be told, it's not a bad cable. It is not a bad cable, and I would be lying if I said it was a bad cable. However, I just feel that it is, I'm not going to say that it's hindering the performance of the Volt. No, it's not. But the truth is, you try different cables on the Volt and you will see enough differences, although minor, but you will see enough differences that really justify changing the cables. Okay, it's actually a 2.5 as you can see, but it brings us a little adapter for 4.4. And that's it. I mean, it's a nice complete package in terms of accessories. Might not be the fanciest of packages, but that's irrelevant as long as what you get is a good accessories package and you get a properly sounding IEM. That's what matters to me. Anyway, that's the box, as I said. I'm actually using this bigger carrying case because of the cable that I'm using with it. Okay, but the carrying case that it brings is this one. Again, inside a few more tips. I'm using the stock tips on it, as you can see there. And that's it. I mean, simple, straight to the point, well executed, well done. As for the actual IEM, it's a very nicely built resin shell, as you can see. It looks the part. It looks the part. The faceplate. If I have to nitpick anything here, it's perhaps the font used to say Volt and PENON could have been a nicer font, but that's me nitpicking. I mean, it doesn't offend me. It's fine. What matters is it built properly? It is built properly. Does it fit nicely? It does fit nicely, and that's the main thing. Anyway, what is the Volt? The Volt is a tribrid made up of the 10mm IEM. 10mm dynamic driver, which saw the first day of light in the Orb, which was the 1+1 that PENON makes, which actually was also the second IEM that they made. And this is their third. I mean, this has been around since 2020. And for me to be here reviewing it after it's been in the market for about 4 years, I think it automatically says two things. This was very, very well designed, and its sound is still very much up to date. And the second thing is, I guess that it says is that I like old things. But anyway, the main reason is obviously the fact that if this IEM has stood the test of time, in the sense of it's been in the market for almost 4 years and it's still going strong, it means that it was properly designed. As I was saying, it uses a 10mm dynamic driver. It uses 2 Sonion BAs and then 4 Sonion ESTs. All of them are real Sonions, by the way. And you just have to look at the shell a little bit and pay attention to how everything was done inside to straight away see that this is a properly put together IEM. It's not throwing pieces together and that's it, because the shell is clear. It has to be nicely put together, it has to be nicely assembled so it looks neat and so on. Anyway, you can see there's a little venting hole there as well. All right, there. No driver flex, no nothing. The cable that I'm using is a IVipQ cable. XINHS also makes a similar one, but this is the IVipQ one actually. It's a cable that goes for around $200 and something. I'll post a link to it. And just touching up quickly on the cables and what the cables did bring to the Volt. I tried the G4 cable that I have here on the DT500. I tried some of these new Gladiator cables as well, like I have here on the EJ. And I tried the S4 as well. And the truth is, it's not that the differences were day and night. No, the differences were not day and night. But they were sufficient for you to see that certain cables just changed somehow the whole thing, the whole dynamics of the IEM. It's an IEM with 112 dB sensitivity and 12 ohm impedance, so it's an IEM that will play loud. And I'm guessing that the fact that it's a 12 ohm impedance, which is relatively low, does influence how it interacts with the cable to a certain extent, and that's where I guess you will see or you will feel those differences. Let me just say that I like the sound of it with any of the cables that I tried. Even with the stock cable, it was fine. I just found that with this particular cable, and I had it with the G4 for a long time, trust me, and then I just tried this particular IVipQ just for the sake of trying it. I just found that with this particular cable, somehow, I don't know if it's the mix of the materials that they've used in it. It's apparently got 4 different materials in the makeup of the actual cables inside. I don't know if it's that. I don't know if it was maybe brain burn. It just sounded, gave me that extra little bit of more tonality or timbre that for me just sounded better. I can't, this is why cables is such a complicated issue, because it's not a black and white thing. It will be very much dependent on what you hear, your ears, there's so many variables that are important that it's complicated for me to say, oh no, this now is the cable that you must use in every IEM, because I've tried this cable, for example, on the DT500, and on a DT500, no, but somehow on here, it matches it perfectly. It just marries with the Volt perfectly. That's it. I'm not gonna carry on trying to explain why. It just sounds good to my ears. That's the thing. All right. In terms of fits beautifully. I'm using the stock tips, as I said. It's got a relatively long nozzle, which allows for a deep insertion, which I like and I appreciate. Whenever I'm able to find an IEM that allows me to insert it deeply into my ears, nine times out of 10, I'm guaranteed that IEM will sound better than if I just have it, sitting more on the outside of my ear canal. It's inevitable. Why? Because it just pushes all the peaks that might be existing there up in the spectrum, and it just comes together nicely. Even IEMs that, for example, don't have a lot of bass, when they are inserted deeply, they just come alive with a different sort of dynamics, which is at least for me, very satisfying. So that basically covers the intro. It's a well-built IEM. It's got good quality parts inside. It's got a solid set of accessories with it. So there's really no need for you to go change the cable if you don't want to. Okay, excuse me. Fits nicely. I mean, look, it's $799. This was at one point the flagship from PENON. So I think it ticks all the boxes on what a IEM of that price should cost and what an IEM that was once a flagship for PENON also should be about. Okay, I think it embodies those let's say premises really well. What do I have here then to compare with the Volt? I've got the DT500 from SoundRhyme. It's also a tribrid, a 1+2+2. This is a 1+2+4. I've got the EJ07M, not the EJ07. I would have liked to have the 07 normal one because there was a lot of comparisons and a lot of talk about the Volt and the original EJ when it first came out. So, it's got the EJ07, which is a 1+2+4 as well, same configuration as there. And I've got on the right hand side the URD a 2+1+2. So 2 dynamic drivers, 1 BA, 2 ESTs. In terms of price, $499, $799. This anywhere between $579 and $629, and this one around the $629 bracket. It depends as well where you get it. So this is the most expensive. This is the cheapest, but ultimately they all fall kind of more or less within the same price range. The reason why I've selected these four is because they've all got, although maybe not graphically, they might not exactly be the same, but they've all got that kind of more neutralish type of signature with a warm bass, and they all sound very similar. Yes, once you start listening more carefully, you do pick up on differences, and I mean, with the songs that I selected, you will pick those differences up. But when you initially just put them in your ears and listen, they kind of sound all very similar. I used the A50S with the M15, and I also used the Cayenne, the RU7. But I just preferred the M15. The M15 for some reason just marries better with the A50 than the Cayenne does. I used the Cayenne mainly with the NX7. But I ended up doing the majority of the listening with the A50S and the M15. I also did some listening with the Venture Electronics, the 2RA. But as I said, this was my main, the A50 from Topping was my main, with the M15 was our main go-to. So what about the sound of the Volt? The sound of this Volt is, first of all, it's the perfect showcase for what the PENON sound is. And PENON is known for having these insanely magical mids. It doesn't really matter which PENON or ISM model you listen to. You will always come to that conclusion. The mids are done beautifully. Even when it deviates a little bit from that more standard PENON house sound, and I'm talking about, like, for example, the 10th anniversary, or I'm talking about the Turbo, which have a slightly different signature to what is usually the PENON signature. They still have, you can still, I would almost go as far as saying that if you've really got good ears and if you're used to listening to a whole bunch of IEMs and you've got some of these products from PENON and ISM, I'm almost positive that you will pick up quite easily. Blind testing, you will pick up on, okay, this is a PENON. Which model it is, I'm not sure, but this is definitely a PENON, or this is definitely an ISM. That's how I think distinguishable is the way that they do their sound. Okay, so the first thing that comes to mind, or that jumps to you, is straight away the mid presentation, and then it's the space. It's the amount of, it just sounds very grand. There's a lot of air around you. Okay, it just sounds, you always get the feeling, or at least I get the feeling with what I'm hearing, that I'm in a stadium. That's the feeling that I get, and it confers the Volt this very grandiose presentation. It makes it feel larger than life, honestly. That then is matched with just the perfect amount of bass and the perfect amount of treble. The bass is got, in my opinion, more than enough sub bass capabilities, perfect impact. I mean, I listened to, for example, Here But I'm Gone from Vanessa Fernandez. This is one of the songs that there were 8 songs that I selected to do these comparisons here. And on this song, it's the initial part of the song when she starts singing and the drums come in. That slam, it's perfect. There's not only does it sound real, it sounds like it's here with you. That's how good it is. It's not overpowering. It's not fake. It's nothing. It's just very, very correct, very real, very, very organic. It's how it was. It's honestly, it's like if you were listening live to her. Okay. On the other hand, you listen to things like, for example, Wicked Game from Chris Isaak. The guitar, his voice, the whole atmosphere that song has. Again, this does it perfectly, and it's all down to the way that the bass, the mids, and then the bass complements that, and the treble complements that. But the mids here are honestly simply next level, next level. So mids and bass, I've said it. Treble, perfect. There's no such thing as sibilance or being aggressive or fatiguing or anything of the sort. Nothing. One of the songs that I usually like listening to to pick up on that aggressiveness is La Belle Dame Sans Remorse from Chris Botti. Minute 115 to about minute 140, his trumpet, it's done, I mean, flawlessly. Seriously, it's done flawlessly. Beautiful. And then the accompanying guitar and how, each pluck of the it's honestly very, very nice. I'm not gonna sit here and say, oh no, it's okay. It's very, very nice. I mean, I've been lucky to have listened to a lot of IEMs. I listened to the Impact a couple of months ago, and fair enough, what I'm about to say I shouldn't say because I don't have the Impact yet to make a one-to-one comparison, live comparison. But I remember listening to this particular song on the Impact, and it was nice, but it did not impress me the same way as it impressed me on the Volt. Okay, so what I'm saying with this is, and again I repeat, I don't have the Impact with me here, so it's not fair for me to be saying this. I like to do comparisons on stuff that I have with me. So I'm not wholeheartedly or doing a full comparison with the Impact. No, but what I am saying is I remember distinctly hearing this song in the Impact, and the Volt just does it better. it just sounds the part. It just sounds the business. If you were to tell me that this was the $2,500 IEM, the other one was the $800 IEM, I would accept that. Let's put it that way. Okay. So in terms of its bass, it's perfectly done. It's got nice texture, good weight, good impact. It's clean. It doesn't linger. It's nice. The mids are faultless. Male, female vocals, tonality and tonality, timbre and tonality are perfect. Everything sounds realistic. Pianos, like in this song from La Belle Dame Sans Remorse, you hear the pianos and the notes sound real. It's a very realistic sounding IEM, okay, at least to my ears. Treble, perfectly executed. It just gives you that right amount of twinklies and sparkles, like I say, and it's just then got this atmosphere, this amount of space. That's where I would say that then technically this thing also shines. It's got this sensation of 3D, this sensation of soundstage, which seems endless. Okay, imaging is spot on. It's exactly what it should be. Detailed retrieval, spot on. I mean, technically it's faultless in my opinion. Is it the perfect IEM? I can't say it's the perfect IEM. To my ears, it's probably the IEM that's come the closest to being perfect. Let's put it that way. I really, there isn't anything that I can really say, oh no, I would have liked a little bit more of this or a little bit more of that, because it's like I say sometimes in my reviews, I approached it knowing what it was supposed to be. This was not a bass head IEM. This was not an IEM that was super bright. This was an IEM that was tuned in a more neutral, warm manner. I knew it was a PENON sound already straight away, so I was kind of already pre-programmed, let's put it that way, to expect a certain sound, and that expectation was met and superseded by a mile, because it is, out of all the IEMs that I've heard out of PENON and ISM, it is the best IEM I've heard from them. I'll say that much. And to say that, it's a big thing, because those guys, those of you that follow me for a while know that I like the serial, know that I like the 10th anniversary, know that I like the Globe, the EST50 for my SN, the H50, the Neo 5. I like them all because they all really sound good, and they sound along the lines of what I like. So and this is the one, that just ticks the more boxes. Okay. Anyway, not to drag this much more, just a quick comparison then with the DTE 500, the EJ, and the Oud. DTE 500, it doesn't sound as grand, as big as the Volt, it doesn't, but the truth is, it has got a few nice things going for it. Namely what? Namely the way that the upper mids and highs are done. If it wasn't for the overall balance here to be slightly, the balance here of the whole frequency range is not as well done as there. But if I was to just take the mids and the upper mids and the highs and compare to the upper mids and highs here, they are basically the same. Honestly, they are very equally matched. It's just then the rest and how it all comes together with the rest that's not as good, and that's why ultimately it's not as competent as the Volt. But is this a seriously good IEM that perhaps hasn't been getting enough attention? Yes, I do think that. I do seriously believe that. There's the EST50, which is very, very similar to this, but somehow the EST50, you listen to it, and although graphically they look very similar, it sounds thicker in the bass, okay? And that's the reason why I didn't put it here, because I wanted IEMs that were slightly more neutral. EJ07M, the thing that straight away jumps to you is the sub bass on here, okay? Yes, the sub bass on here is more, you know, to even say it's better is not even the correct word, because it's not, I'm not going to be fair to either one of them. It's just there's more sub bass, there's more warmth in the way that the sub bass and bass is done. So yes, if you want to say that, if you want me to say it bluntly, okay, fine, the bass there is better than there. But then again, it's the coming together of everything, you know. And although this has got, you know, really good bass, crazy good mids, very good extension in the highs, although I still stand by what I've said from day one, the EST implementation here on the M is, excuse me, is so relaxed that at times, in the beginning especially, I used to question, are the ESTs really working? But they are working. They are working. Now that I've gotten obviously more used to using and listening to IEMs with ESTs, you become accustomed to that tonality, so you know that they are working. But it's the way it loses out to the PENON, to the Volt, is in that sense of grandiose sensation. It just is smaller, okay? It's just a smaller stadium, let's put it that way, okay? And then finally the Oud. And again, those of you that follow me know that the Oud is one of my IEMs, one of my favorite IEMs. I mean, these three here are also also part of that list of IEMs, which are also some of my favorite IEMs. But the Oud is probably higher up on that list because there's just a certain magic about it, which is very reminiscent of what you get on the Volt. Where the Oud loses out to the Volt is in that sensation of space. Once again, over here everything just sounds bigger, and the upper mids and treble there or just a little bit more subdued as compared to here, so it ends up giving you a sound which is a little bit darker. That's all. Otherwise, in terms of timbre and tonality and all of these IEMs, they do it perfectly. Honestly, they do it perfectly. There is not like a clear winner, but if I have to say which are the two that I gravitate the most towards, I would say the Volt and the Oud. If I'm looking at soundstage, definitely the Volt. If I'm looking at imaging, the two that perhaps stand out the most for me, I would say the Volt and the EJ. If I'm looking at detail retrieval, the ones that stand out the most for me, I would probably say the DTE. Well, the DTE, the Volt, and the EJ are very similar, honestly. But probably the DTE has got just a little bit more than the Volt. Okay, and then, you know, honestly, they are all really very good IEMs. This is unfair for me to be trying to say, oh, this is the better one, that's the worst one. I'm just saying, I'm just trying to give you guys my perception, how it sounds to me. And all I can say about the Volt, honestly, to summarize, is it is a really, really good IEM. Honestly, it is a true testament that when something is properly designed from the get-go, it stands the test of time, and it stands the test of time. It is a more than capable tribrid, even by today's standards. And honestly, until I really can hear something that just blows me away completely, it's gonna be one of the best IEMs I have heard, if not probably the best. I mean, for me to try and explain how much I've been impressed by it, let me say this much. The TXN Audio Desk TI, which I heard a couple of months ago from Vietnam, was probably the best IEM I had heard up to date. Okay, but that's $2,500. If I now consider this is $800, so it's a third of the price, and it offers me pretty much the same kind of sensations as I got on the Desk TI, because the Desk TI It's the mids and the highs which are fantastic. The bass, it's okay, but the bass is not the bass of the Volt, let's put it that way. I would have to say that it now, I'm not going to take it into second place and say the Volt is now in first place, but they share first place as the two IEMs that I have heard up to date that have impressed me the most. And again, keep in mind, this is with my music, with what I like listening to. I'll post the list of the songs that I mean, you listen to Bob Marley's Is This Love on here. Honestly, it's magical. It is magical. It's really good on any one of these. But on the Volt, it's magical. Like I said, Wicked Game from Chris Isaac, the same situation. Style and Character, Gentleman's Professional. You have to listen to the song. The way the sax comes across, it just sounds so natural, so organic, so real. It's just very, very seductive. It's very seductive. Guys, I'll just quickly show you the graphs and we'll wrap it up. All right, see you now. Hi guys, and welcome now then to the graph section for the PENON Volt. As you can see straight away, this is the graph of the PENON Volt. Everything sits within a window here of roughly 5-6 dB, so I mean it's as tight as can possibly be. I didn't notice this little sub-bass roll-off here. I honestly didn't notice it. It came across as being more than enough sub-bass and more than enough mid-bass impact. And then the mids, upper mids and treble are just phenomenal. I mean, the graph doesn't even honestly show you how much perception of space that there is. Everything is just about being smooth and really perfectly executed, in my opinion. Anyway, showing you straight away the this is the graph for the EJ07M, and as you can see, there is some similarities. There is the mids, upper mids, there is a lot of similarities where at least I felt it lost to the not really lost, it just did things differently. Let's be more fair, okay? It just did things differently. Was because it's tuned differently in this mid bass to lower mids area. It doesn't seem like it's got as much impact, but you do feel more sub bass. Definitely there's more sub bass on the EJ without question. The mids, they're about the same, honestly, and then the upper mids and treble, there's just more info on the Volt than there is on the EJ07M. Although you see graphically a little more energy, that's not what my ears were hearing. Okay, but look, the reality is this: it's a fantastic IM, the EJ07M. I wish I had the EJ07. I think that would have been a fairer comparison, but it is what it is. Anyway, that's the EJ07M. The next one is the Soundrime, the DTE 500, and again you see some similarities here in this area between, let's say, 100 and 3K. There is some similarities. There's a little bit more upper mids and treble comparatively to the Volt. There is a little bit more. Okay. And then although the bass seems like it's probably going to be as good or better than the bass of the Volt, it just sounds leaner, and the overall balance that you hear just comes across as leaner sounding. Still, again, another phenomenal IEM that I think isn't been getting enough attention. And then finally, the Kinera, the Oud. Again, the Oud between 100 and about 2.5K, very similar. You do have this sense of it being similar here. Even this area here as well, past 10K, is similar. Having more sub bass, not this difference. There can be occasions that you might feel there's a little bit more sub bass, yes, in quality, not in quantity, purely because it sounds darker. This area between 4.5 and 7 doesn't sound like it graphs as being prominent. The ESTs definitely sound more restrained here on the Oud than they do on the Volt. But look, ultimately the reality is this: be it the Oud, be it the EJ07M, be it the DTE 500, they all are phenomenal sounding. And I mean, if I put them all four here, you will see that up here there is some differences, but it's not dramatic differences. And as well, again, the biggest difference is mainly here in the sub bass, where the Volt seems to be the one that has the least sub bass, when in reality that's not what you actually hear. The same thing goes for the the Chimera and the DT 500s being probably the two that also have the most in terms of bass, and that's not the case. Maybe quality wise it could be debatable that they do have a little bit more quality, but I didn't hear it as well that way. These four are phenomenal IEMs at their respective price points. The Volt for me is just the one that comes together the nicest. It's the one that it's put together the best in terms of how all the frequencies just match each other and everything. It just sounds faultless. Anyway, guys, that's my take on the Volt. Any questions you might have, please feel free to ask me, and I'll do my best to answer as always. All right, you have a good one now. Take care. Bye bye.